You may be surprised to learn that this is in South Carolina. This is Nephron Pharmaceuticals campus in West Columbia, and also home of our board chair, Lou Kennedy. We've been happy to have her as our board chair for the last couple of years to advance our mission and our vision here in South Carolina as it regards to growing the life science industry. And really what our vision is to be that most industry-friendly, an innovative life sciences ecosystem really in the nation. And how we do that is working together with our industry partners and our universities and those that support the industry to grow the sector in our state. And in fact, it's the fastest growing sector in South Carolina. And that's because a lot of the effort that we've put in as an organization. And so SCBio as an organization is a nonprofit. And we are made up of investors or members, as we like to say. So what we do is really provide an outlet for our industry to participate, get to know each other, convene and connect throughout the year, and also share, whether there's struggles or roadblocks that or gaps in what is provided to them through the state that we can work on as a group to make sure that they have the most business-friendly environment to continue to grow. SCBio as an organization has been around for about 10 years, though under new leadership 4 years ago. And that is when we started to really, when we talk about that roadmap, have an official roadmap in the form of a strategic plan. So we're on our third version. As many of you might imagine, if you don't have something written down that continues to change and update, you become stagnant. So what we've done is really, in the beginning of coming on to SCBio, take stock of where we're at and how we want to grow. And we've had great results as an organization working with our partners. At the Department of Commerce is one of our key partners. And often people are surprised to learn that South Carolina is #1 in the United States for attracting foreign direct investment in the last 3 of the 5 years. So we have a lot of international companies that call South Carolina home. And you can see by the flags here designated on the screen, over 40 companies represented, which again, this goes back to really our textile days as a state. So those of you from NC State, I know that's familiar to you as well. And so we've grown and expanded through automotive, aerospace, and now life sciences is a part of that leading industry cluster that we have here in South Carolina, and it continues to grow. So I mentioned we are the fastest growing segment here in South Carolina, and life science companies have a presence in 42 of our 46 counties. So you'll see very spread out the opportunities for employment and growth at these various companies, which we'll get into. And we had an economic impact study done. Again, it was about 4 years ago. So this $12 billion economic impact that you see on the screen, that really is the number from 4 years ago. So we're looking to do a new study. So we know that impact on our state continues to grow. And then I think whether we're presenting this to high school students when they see that average wage, or someone like yourselves, which you have the letters, you'll be having the letters at the end of your name. So that goes up, as you know, as well. To see that is almost double the average wage in South Carolina. This is our favorite example to show because it really demonstrates that 40 in the 42 of 46 counties in South Carolina. So if you're not familiar with our state, the upstate region, Greenville is a hub and has the Clemson University. Here in the Midlands, University of South Carolina. And then in the Charleston region, Medical University of South Carolina. And so as you all know or be familiar with, obviously our industry likes to have talented, educated folks that work in this very specific industry that is life sciences. And so you find that those clusters happen around the cities and the universities. Not to say, though, that again, because we have that breadth of locations throughout the state, we are known for our manufacturing. So when we make things here in South Carolina, that also lends itself to our industry as well. You all are familiar with the life sciences, though, as we break it down here in South Carolina, you see these are the subjects or areas that we focus on. really on the human health side of things. So biotech, drugs and pharma, medical devices, digital health, which continues to explode, and really, MUSC is a center of excellence that we like to point to in the digital health and arena. Bioag is we work in that space, though we also work with our Department of Agriculture there. Again, focus more on that on human health side. I love this slide too, because bioscience distribution is, we've all gotten vaccines and have seen the Pfizer vaccine when it first rolled out. It was in a soft box that was developed here in South Carolina in Greenville. So every Pfizer vaccine that went out was in one of those specialty boxes. So, people don't often think about the box, to keep the medicines effective that are being distributed. And so now I think with COVID, it has opened a lot of people's eyes to our industry. And then also obviously on the research, testing and medical lab side. And we'll be interested to hear from you all as far as what path you're looking to take to get into those labs and testing. And what we want to really do today is to open your eyes to other possibilities as well as those. So when we go back to what is SCBio, when we talked about building and advancing our industry. And so this screen just really we want to encapture is that we say these words a lot as we're talking to folks, and that this is really what goes into building, advancing, innovating, and growing our industry. We recognize we're not a Boston and we're not a California. So as we support our existing industry and also recruit more companies in, I want to know, well, what are you really doing? So, convening the industry, developing infrastructure, really doing things like this, sharing our story about what's here in South Carolina, doing that strategic planning, making sure that the business environment is one that is suitable for life science companies to continue to exceed and grow here in South Carolina. So that's really sort of what goes into what we are doing. And we just had a discussion, our team, about economic development. And for those that may not be in it, economic development can mean many things to different people, or it can mean, I don't even know what that is. So economic development to us is, I've said, supporting existing industry, recruiting industry in, and part of that is workforce talent development. So from us, for our kids from the K through 12 age range and on up, understand what the industry is. People that aren't familiar or have a passion for the industry, it probably just means to them could be it's going into medical school or being a nurse. And so we want people to understand it's more than that. Advocacy and the voice of industry. So at our state house, if there's legislation or on a national level that is deterring business from here in the state, we want to make sure our legislators know that. And even if there's an opportunity for us to put programs together to really be that voice of industry, so that we can work towards that. Zach will talk a little bit more about that innovation, acceleration, and having an outlet for our entrepreneurs in South Carolina. As if you're an entrepreneur at heart, you know that it takes money to do so. So making sure that we have the capital attraction, that we're talking to those folks that invest in life science, medtech, biotech companies. And then the networking collaboration is so key. We have companies that have been here for many years and they're doing their own thing. And so they don't even know what's around them or what is in the state, that either they can do business with another company right here in South Carolina, or if they need connections beyond. And those are things that we can do. So it's really great to see the connections happen, that we're able to make those fruitful connections, that they can do business. And part of that is, again, we'll talk about in a little bit, is connecting to people like yourselves, because workforce is so important, and finding that talented workforce as well. Marketing, it's part of what we're doing here today, is sharing that story. And so we've been doing it a lot on these platforms as of late, and we're getting back out there and prepared to share the story beyond Zoom as well. So just a little bit about the companies that are here in South Carolina, and I'm going to have Zach pick things up here.
Yeah, so we saw on the map of all the dots throughout the state, but you're probably wondering what are some of those actual companies that are in South Carolina. And many of these that we're about to show you probably have heard the names, but didn't know they were in South Carolina or where they were. So the first one you see here, Thermo Fisher Scientific, they actually have a huge 1,400-acre campus in Florence, South Carolina, with over 400 employees, and they produce APIs, or those active pharmaceutical ingredients. And I think they handle about 70 different products every year, both on the commercial and the clinical side. If you go to the next one, Aaron. So Arthrex, you probably have heard of before. I was super excited when I heard they were coming to South Carolina. I'm a biomechanics orthopedic design guy. So Arthrex is one of those huge companies that's in that space. So they're a global orthopedic medical device companies. They're actually headquartered in Naples, Florida, but they moved or expanded their manufacturing into Anderson, South Carolina, and they're creating a ton of jobs and are constantly hiring as well. Abbott, you may have heard of before. They're in Liberty, South Carolina, and they produce the cardiac pacemakers. And so they have an innovation team there that's working on battery performance and also improving those pacemakers as well. Nephron, we saw this at the very beginning. Lou Kennedy, their CEO, is also our board chair at SCBio, and they're one of the fastest growing pharmaceutical companies in the country. They produce generic inhalation solutions and suspension products to treat respiratory problems. And they've also been super active during the past year during COVID. They have a pre-filled syringe factory, and they're also producing IV bags for hospitals as well now. The last one I think that we'll talk about is Vicor Scientific. So they moved their headquarters to West Edge. This is the building you're seeing here down in Charleston, and they kind of are one of the leaders in molecular diagnostics. So they were really on that leading edge of the COVID testing right at the very beginning, and they really kind of focus in on that antibiotic resistance program as well. So beyond just diagnosing the bacteria or the virus, but actually going the step further and seeing what are the antibiotic resistance to this to give the clinicians actual actionable feedback on what treatment paths are available. With that, I'll turn it back to you, Aaron.
Yeah, thank you, Zach. I appreciate that. And that's just a handful, just as examples of companies that are here in South Carolina. But we talk about over 700 life science companies that are here and call South Carolina home. So while COVID has been devastating for many of us, to get through, though, shined a light on our industry in the life sciences, obviously pharmaceutical. More people understand and appreciate vaccines, just understanding sort of what the process that goes into that, and then also realizing how reliant we are on overseas for many of the products that go into what keeps us healthy. So as a result, our governor has realized this as well, and his part of the cornerstone of his administration moving forward is supporting the life sciences and making sure that we, along with our economic development partners, Department of Commerce, and we have regional alliances we work with to recruit more companies that we need to shore up that supply chain here in South Carolina, so that we are not so reliant on those partners that are not here. And we had a recent event at Bausch & Lomb, which is located in Greenville. So if you wear contacts and you use Bausch & Lomb eye solution, that is being produced in Greenville, South Carolina. So what we've done as a group, because we're focused exclusively on the life sciences, and so while we have other entities in our state that are working to recruit companies of all sectors to our state, they work with us as it relates to life sciences. So we formed a task force with these leaders to really be strategic about how we're approaching these markets and what we want to continue to bring in to support our industry growth. And so when we do that, when we're talking to international companies, we hope to be back out on the road, and we're planning this fall for conferences where you may be at conferences presenting papers and your research, we are out talking to companies that are looking to expand and grow. And so often we talk about, well, coming to the US, if you might imagine, if you're in Europe or if you're not outside the US, it can be pretty intimidating. So what we offer is specific resources that we're able to provide just to give an entry point, and so that we make the opportunity less intimidating and an easier process as they consider growth and expansion. And part of that is, we talked about West Edge as Zach talked about earlier, and that's a location where Vicor is, and also SCBio has offices there. We, as a statewide organization, have offices throughout the state, and no surprise through those major cities that we talked about early, Greenville, Columbia, and Charleston. And I have to say, we were just in our Charleston offices yesterday, and we've got a nice view. So that's also another thing that's not too bad here in South Carolina, is the lifestyle, right? And we've got the beaches and we've got the mountains in the upstate in Greenville. And so there's cities that people want to come and live in, and the access also to care, right? So the MUSC, for those folks obviously that are on the line here today, University of South Carolina, and then Prisma Health, one of the 20 largest health systems in the US. So we at SCBio work with our health systems to make sure that innovation that's happening here in South Carolina and even beyond is being applied, and whether it's clinical trials or just input from clinicians, that we're able to help make, again, those connections. You're probably thinking, why are you showing me a piece of land? But this is also what we show to companies that are looking to come. So whether or not they just want some office space, or they're looking for a location to build a manufacturing location. Just wanted to show this to you as an example of opportunities that are happening here in South Carolina. We talked about that marketing aspect and marketing to the world at places like Medica or Arab Health, and that's where we meet with these companies and share our story, and making sure they understand that FDA navigation, reimbursement strategies, these are unique, right, to the United States. And so the more that we can educate and inform, the better off we are in companies coming to visit us and understanding the makeup of South Carolina and the infrastructure that is here in the United States. So we keep ourselves busy at those conferences, whether they're online or in person. We talked about workforce. I'm going to send things back to Zach to talk about our initiatives at our varying levels, and especially for you all as you are looking to get engaged with businesses, right? That's the whole point while we're talking here to you today. Zach?
Yep, thanks, Erin. So we span across all the different levels of that education spectrum, from K through 12, the 2-year colleges, and the 4-year universities up to grad school as well. Our team member Morgan, who's not on the call with us, really leads that K through 12 outreach, working with those students and telling that story of the different opportunities that are before them as they continue on in their education. Erin really leads the 2-year colleges, and she's actually working with industry and the colleges to put together different curriculum for the students within those programs. And I kind of head up the 4-year universities and the graduate school engagement as well. So if you go to the next slide, Erin. So you can see we work with pretty much all of the universities in South Carolina, and it's something that we've continued to ramp up over the past 1.5 to 2 years, as we've seen the industry really wants to engage with students. Students really want to engage with industry as they're looking for jobs. So we've been building a lot of programs and a lot of ideas and different initiatives around this as well. Let's go to the next slide. So this is the first kind of takeaway for you all: SCBio job board and resume database. So we built this, I think less than a year ago, but it's really targeting those life science jobs within South Carolina. So it's all life science based. Feel free to go search it as you're looking for jobs, but there's also a resume database on there as well, where you can upload your resume. And many of the companies use this, especially those smaller companies, the startups, and that are looking for certain people or not really sure how to get their needs out there as well. Also, SCBio has a student membership program. That number is actually low. It's over 300 members now. It's a free program. All you have to do is sign up. You can, and if you go to scbio.org/join, just scroll down and put in your email. That's how you join. And with that comes some newsletters to be in the loop about what's happening in the community here in South Carolina, but also it gets you access to a lot of our different student events. So pre-COVID, we did a lot of in-person events. We did site visits. You can see some pictures there at Milliken, where we did some mock interviews, some panel sessions, some networking events. The past year, we've really focused in on virtual networking sessions. So we've had a ton with a lot of different companies in South Carolina, and we will continue to do that as the school kind of picks back up in the fall. So I highly recommend you join the student membership program. It'll just get you access to this and let you know what's going on in the community. The last thing I'll talk about is the SCBio innovation platform. So this is really kind of what I focus on, working with entrepreneurs. I thought it'd be good to talk about because you can kind of see how all the different segments of the industry come together, and there's a lot of different opportunities. So what we do is we work with startups to figure out where they need to be in the industry. So we first meet with them and understand where their needs are, where they're at, what they're looking for. And then from there, we can plug them into the really robust innovation ecosystem in South Carolina and the local states as well. And then any situations where we don't have the perfect organization, we try to help them ourselves. For example, next week, we're actually going to work with a company to do some medical device testing on one of their new prototypes, because they're not quite ready for the big contract research, but they're a little bit beyond just tinkering in their own lab as well. So there's a lot of good opportunities, whether it's MUSC FRD has a really good tech transfer program where they work with entrepreneurs on grant writing. 3-phase within the Department of Commerce does that as well. We have lots of regulatory reimbursement specialists as well. So there's a lot of different segments that all come together around the early innovation, and there's a lot of job opportunities in there as well. If you go to the next slide, Aaron, I think this is where I turn it not quite back over to you. Yeah, so you can see the different health systems, and we work closely with them as well. I mentioned MUSC, their FRD program is really their tech transfer, but they work closely with a lot of their clinicians as well. And we actually have a close partnership with the South Carolina Hospital Association, and we're starting to work with their clinical leadership council to actually vet projects, both on the recruitment side, also on the new startup sides, of getting some of that clinical feedback early on and making sure it's really fills a gap in the industry. And then also how to get connected to clinicians to get even further clinical feedback, but then also into those clinical trial resources as well.
Excellent. Thank you, Zach. And so this, again, just to highlight those partnerships and collaboration, which we keep going back to. Really, is it that important? Yes, because, and that's part of just, we're excited that you're here today to learn more about SCBio, though, even just to know, wherever you are, the more you can get involved and reach out to industry leaders, I think you will benefit, and everyone's always willing to give some input and share their experiences. And there are bio organizations throughout the nation, and we are an affiliate of the National Bio Organization. They have a lot of great programs for students and entrepreneurs as well. AdvaMed really focuses on the medical device side. Pharma represents the large pharmaceutical companies, and then some of these, if you're from South Carolina, will mean a lot to you, and if not, likely won't. Aside from our universities, are when we talk about our regional alliances, and those are the groups that help us recruit more companies in, and then support our existing companies that are in South Carolina. This shows our membership. As I mentioned before, we are an industry association, and so our members we call investors, and so this just shows the different opportunities that we have that support SCBio. So it's our industry, which makes up more than half of our membership, along with, think about just IP attorneys, construction groups that are building life science buildings and beyond. And so that you think about all the things that go into into a business, right? Accounting, but that want to be involved in our growing industry. We've got an amazing board of directors. Again, it varies from industry support to our universities that want to really make a difference and help as we grow, because right, we know we're not in North Carolina, we're not an RTP, we get it, right? So what can we do the best here in South Carolina? And so these are the folks that are really helping shape what and where we're going, along with Zach and myself and our SCBio staff. We'll end it on, we would love to invite you to South Carolina. So a great time to come would be at our annual conference, which will be in person in Charleston in February. So make sure you put that on your calendar. And again, I echo what Zach has said earlier, is to join as a student member, and you will get information about SCBio. And then as we continue on, you'll get information about this conference as well.